Yahoo Fantasy Football, the Tucson Tackle Dummies League, has completed Week 3 in the 2010 season. Let's dive right in and take a look at what went down in Week 3 action. Again, Week 3 was the final of the first 3 weeks of divisional play. Teams will not face each other within the same division again until Week 12. So everybody will depart to face the rest of the league and return for divisional action in 8 weeks. So let's dive right in. A huge week in the league. 7 of the 8 matchups were settled by less than 20 points. And it doesn't get any closer than our first matchup. The close-up toothpaste game of the week. Polax knocks off Diabetes 89.34 to 89.04. This was the closest matchup in league history, and only the second time a matchup was decided by less than a point. Ironically, Diabetes on the losing end of that matchup as well last season. How much can 0.3 points really mean in this league? As it stands right now, Polax sits 7th in the standings and would make the playoffs, while Diabetes is now 14th in the standings and is far from making the playoffs with the loss. The 2 lowest scoring teams were these teams, and they faced each other this week. Both teams started inactive players. Polax started the inactive Ryan Matthews, who has an injury for the Chargers, and Diabetes started the inactive Sidney Rice from the Vikings and inactive Pierre Garcon from the Colts. Polax had 4 players in double digits, including leading scorer Ahmad Bradshaw, who definitely benefited from the absence of his fellow Giants running back, who was a non-factor in their offensive scheme. Ahmad Bradshaw had 18.05 points. Polax finally also saw production out of Dwayne Bowe with a 13.6 week from Bowe. Diabetes countered on offense with Rashard Mendenhall's 20.3, but only 2 other players managed to reach double digits. On defense, the Pittsburgh defense for Diabetes had 18 points, while the rest of the defense, the other 5 slots, combined for just 14.5. Polax, on defense, highest scorer, on trail roll, 6.5 points. So not a very competitive matchup, but the closest in league history nonetheless. In other action, AZ Chargers finally gets one in the win column, knocking off Greek Thunderball 107.51 to 106.04. This one came down to less than 2 points, with Chargers picking up their first win of the year. Greek had 5 players in double digits and lost to Chargers, with Chargers only having 3 players in double digits. Greek dominated the quarterback battle as Aaron Rodgers outdueled Brett Favre 23.64 to 9.84. Chargers won the wide receiver battle, however, with high scorer Malcolm Floyd picking up 17.2 points, while Greek only got 12.7 from Terrell Owens and Reggie Wayne. Greek had 26 points from 2 running backs. Chargers had 19.02 points from 3 running backs, so Greek definitely won the running back battle as well. Greek had a 2 tight end set once again this week and had it neutralized finally. After 2 weeks of success using 2 tight ends, 13.75 points came from Jermichael Finley, but just 2.95 came from Vernon Davis. And AZ Chargers pretty much neutralized that, getting 11.05 out of 1 tight end, Rob Gronkowski. On the defensive side, the defense was the difference maker as Chargers with 13.5 points out of Lance Briggs, while Greek had 11 points from the Minnesota defense and just 10 points from the remaining 5 slots. Also in action, Sixburg remains undefeated, now 3-0 after knocking off the still winless My Dirty Boys 107.83 to 102.78. This one settled by just under 6 points. Sixburg now has more wins this season than in all of 2009. Sixburg won this one despite an injured quarterback not playing for the 2nd straight week and nothing being done about it in the Sixburg lineup. Matthew Stafford injured and out and will still be out for weeks to come, but Sixburg has still yet to lose. Sixburg with just 3 players beating projections to Dirty's 6 and still walking away with the victory. An impressive offensive day for both teams. Neither team had a double-digit score on defense. Of the 12 defensive slots in this game between both teams, just 2 players managed to beat projections from both teams combined on defense. On the offensive side, Sixburg had 44.85 from 3 running backs, including team high scorer Cedric Benson with 21.5. Dirty came back with 96.28 on offense this week, a game-high 25.4 out of Brandon Marshall, and an additional 18.9 out of fellow wide receiver Santana Moss. Dirty was great in the air as well as Tony Gonzalez threw in 19 points from tight end. The running backs, however, a huge disappointment. 3 running backs managed just 10.7 for my Dirty Boys. On the defensive side, as we mentioned, very disappointing for both teams. Dirty managed just 6.5 points total on the defensive side using 3 inactive players while starting the disappointing San Francisco defense, who finished 9 points below projections, picking up 1 point this week for Dirty Boys. In other action, another very tight battle came down to the final games. Delicious Pancakes moves to 2-1, knocking off Free Roethlisberger 138.28 to 127.89. The final play of the Sunday night game is what actually put Pancakes ahead, as an interception by the New York Jets defense allowed Pancakes to move ahead and stay ahead with some additional points on the Monday night game from Donald Driver. Roethlisberger had 6 players in double digits to Pancakes' 5. Pancakes had 9 players beat projections. Roethlisberger only had 7. The real difference here, though, Pancakes only had 2 players that scored under 6 points. Roethlisberger had 5 players that scored under 6 points. Pancakes won won a very tight battle at quarterback. Joe Flacco versus Matt Ryan wound up coming down to a 22.08 to 19.72 finish, with Flacco and Delicious Pancakes taking the edge. Roethlisberger had 39.45 points out of 3 running backs. The Falcons duo that Roethlisberger employs of Matt Ryan and Michael Turner combined for 38.72 points this week. Meanwhile, for Pancakes, Maurice Jones-Drew continues to disappoint. Just 9.4 points this week, 9 points below projections. A great tight end battle was also featured in this one. Antonio Gates versus Zach Miller. 18.65 for Gates, 13.4 for Miller. Disappointment on defense, though, for Roethlisberger. 3 slots, returning just 1 point each, and that wound up being the difference. Also in action, is this the CFL remains on top of their division by knocking off Inglorious Bear Jew, 152.35 to 139.39. These were the 2 highest scoring teams in the league this week. That's only happened one other time last year. That was Week 14, Diabetes knocking off Spock, and it happened only twice in 2008. So this is only the 4th time in league history that the top 2 scoring teams in a week actually faced each other. And ironically, the 2 highest scoring and 2 lowest scoring teams wound up playing each other this week. Just some interesting stats there. Both teams had 5 players in double digits. CFL, though, had 7 players beat projections to Bear Jew's 6. An amazing quarterback battle as Michael Vick took on Phillip Rivers in this one. Vick came out with 32.64 to Rivers' 26.4. CFL had 2 players over 30 points this week. Austin Collie with 32.1 and a game-high 33.25 from Adrian Peterson. Collie managed to outscore CFL's other 2 wide receivers by over 17 points, and Peterson outscored fellow CFL running back Sammy Morris by over 30 points himself. Bear Jew had a great return from Lewis Murphy, of all people, this week with a 13.15. That's over 8 points above projections. Bear Jew had 36.35 from the combination of Ray Rice and Peyton Hillis, and managed to outscore CFL at running back despite the amazing performance by Adrian Peterson this week. Bear Jew's 2 tight end set, though, kind of fell flat this week. Just 7.45 from Brett Selleck and Mercedes Lewis. And defense, ironically, a dead heat, with Bear Jew winning this one 28.5 to 28 in total defensive points. But CFL used huge performances from a couple of players to hang on. Jammed Toe remains undefeated at 3-0, knocking off Herbie TG 136.55 to 120.98. This allows Toe to assume the number 1 spot in the league with another high-scoring performance. Both teams had 5 players in double digits. Herbie had 6 players beat projections. None of those, though, on defense. So 6 of 8 offensive players beat projections, but nobody on defense did. Toe had 7 players beat projections all around the team. Another great quarterback battle here as Drew Brees took on Tom Brady in this one, with Brees getting the edge 24.6 to 22.68, allowing Jam Toe to win the quarterback battle. A great wide receiver battle. Each team used 3 wide receivers. This one went down to a 32.2 to 31.8 battle, which was awarded to Herbie. Herbie dominated at running back as well with 24.5 from Chris Johnson. Toe had a disappointing 10.7 from the combination of Brandon Jackson and Matt Forte. Toe stayed in it, though, on offense with a great performance out of tight end Dustin Keller, 23.3, as he's emerged as Mark Sanchez's #1 target in New York. Herbie had a surprisingly good return at tight end as well, though, from John Carlson with 13.35. Toe ran away on defense, though, outscoring Herbie by 18.5 on that side of the ball. That included Trent Cole's 12.5 for Toe. Herbie's highest scorer on defense, Deshaun Goldson, with just 5.5. Also in action, DM to Carp defeated Shots to keep Shots winless. Shots has now matched their loss total from last season already in just 3 weeks. Shots loses this one 129.97 to 110.76. Carp had just 3 players in double digits and still managed to post nearly 130 points, while Shots had 4 players in double digits. Carp had 5 players beat projections. Shots had 6, and still Shots did not get the win. Carp had a huge game from Anquan Bolden, 33.96 points, and a surprisingly huge day from CJ Spiller with 20.43 points from the running back, beating his projections by over 15 points. The only other player for Carp to score in double digits was the disappointing Matt Schaub, who had just 11.64 this week in the Houston Texans' loss to the Cowboys. Carp's very potent combination of Schaub to Andre Johnson combined for just 20.04 points after last week's huge game. Shots at a team high from Tony Romo with 19.26. Only got 13 points at running back, though, with Javed Best and Jonathan Stewart both being fairly disappointing. The 2 tight ends set for Shots continued to disappoint for the 3rd straight week as Jason Witten and Owen Daniels combined for just 10.8 points. Shots won on defense, though, in a surprise 43.5 to 30.5, a 13-point victory on the defensive side of the ball. Carp usually has a sound defense, but no big scores this week for Carp. Shots had 15 from the Philly defense and 11 from Jeremiah Bell. And in the final matchup of the week, Bucknuts remains 3-0 after knocking off the Pain Trains 134.49 to 97.83. Pain Trains with just 3 players in double digits. The team high, Eli Manning, with a disappointing 13.64, actually falling below projections. Pain had only 2 players actually beat projections this week. That was tight end Aaron Hernandez from the Patriots and the Cincinnati defense. Pain only had 16.44 from 3 wide receivers. And on the defensive side of the ball, Payne definitely missed Mario Williams, who posted a 0 this week. Looking ahead to week 4, we've got 2 3-0 teams taking on each other. Bucknuts will face off with Sixburg. 3-0 Jammed Toe will take on defending champion and 2-1 Delicious Pancakes. And 2 2-1 teams will face off as division-leading CFL will take on DM to Carp. 2-1 Polax will be taking on Pain Trains, trying to come back from a disappointing loss. 1-2 Free Roethlisberger will take on 1-2 Herbie TG. 1-2 Bear Jew will take on the winless team Shots, while 1-2 Greek Thunderball will also face off with a winless team. That's My Dirty Boys. And in the final matchup of the week, very disappointed Diabetes, sitting at 1-2, will take on AZ Chargers as both teams try to gain some momentum and reverse their losing records. So I hope to see you back next week for Week 4 in review. We'll see you back next Tuesday in the Tucson Tackle Dummies League.